Hello and welcome to Afternoon Equality. My name is Christy, and today I'm talking to Iryna Sulim, who is a sexuality coach for men. She also does coach women and couples, but her focus for the last 7 years has been men, and I think it's so important to be having these conversations around sexuality and sex and really normalize it. So I'm really excited to dive in with her. Let's do it. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
You're in Northern California, correct?
I am. Yeah, I'm in the Bay Area.
All right, perfect. Okay, so I guess let's just get right into it. So to start us off, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you came into this space of working with sexuality, especially with male sexuality and coaching and that stuff?
Yeah, totally. So it happened about 7 years ago when I embarked on my own personal journey, personal growth, transformation. And it happened to start from Tantra. So I discovered Tantric workshop back in the day, and it just like engulfed me. And the things that I was, pretty turned off by, I started embracing. Um, I had a tremendous heartbreak with my ex at the time, and that was like the reason why I went into this tantric workshops to get the healing. And so little did I know that, like the whole world of sacred sexuality opened up to me
Okay.
through all these teachings of Eastern philosophies. And so I went deeper into trainings and mentorships and coaches and all the things, and started working, holding workshops for people in New York City. I used to live in New York. And then personal private sessions with people. And eventually, once I got my training in coaching on like how to be a more integrated sex, love, and relationship coach, I chose to work with men. Partially, so there's several reasons. First and foremost, I've always had safety and comfort level to be around men. Maybe it has to do with the fact that I was also very much emotionally connected to my father from, two of my parents. My father was the one who I gravitated to.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, because the Me Too happened, and so I felt very compelled to create a safe, supportive space for men to actually process all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sexuality is actually, and intimacy is the area that men do not have spaces for to talk about, or there are not too many as it is for women. So I made it like a conscious decision that I would love to do that for the male population. And it's been a huge learning for me. And my own relationship to men in general transformed tremendously, and how much compassion and love I have for men, and how much they are always, want to revere us as women,
Mm-hmm.
and want to be the best lovers, and want to learn all the techniques, and want to want to learn all the skills,
Yeah.
and it's just very endearing to me. And yeah, and it's been a great work. Yeah.
I love that. I think like to your because you mentioned the Me Too movement, and I think I released my own story about like my own sexual assault. And so I know like with the Me Too movement, the focus was large on women, which like it like, rightly so because of the victimization and things like that. But, I can see how like a big part of the conversation that was never really addressed was like how men are also victims in the sense that they don't really get these spaces to talk about their vulnerabilities, or like They don't necessarily get the same kind of education that women do about sexuality. They don't get the same sort of like attention, or like again like the same sort of like spaces to talk about, vulnerabilities with like sexuality and things like that.
Yes,
So I
yes.
think like I think that's what makes what you do so not just interesting, but like almost progressive in a way.
Mhm.
Because again, like, like I'm all for advocating for women. Like, I believe we should not just advocate for each other more, but also, be better about advocating for ourselves. But in that same vein, like, we shouldn't forget that men also need that in different ways.
Absolutely. And I'm all for, supporting women, and that's where I'm expanding right now to support
Mhm.
sisterhood. However, you know, men, it's probably also my path and my karmic path with men, and I had to go through, and um, they need it. They really, really, really do need it. And part
Yeah.
of the work is also around emotional intelligence. Like I'm teaching men emotions, how to express them,
Yes.
to tap into them, um, and that's a valuable piece of sexuality part.
Yeah. Really quickly, like you mentioned this in the beginning, and I was like, oh, I need to ask her what that means. What is tantra and tantric sex? Because I've heard those terms before, but I don't think I've ever actually had it like defined for me.
Yeah, well, there are so many definitions of it and so many different
Okay.
iterations of it. What I would say is, it's a Eastern philosophy that was originated many, many centuries ago in India, and there are different lineages that exist in Buddhism, uh, and so it is essentially related to the meaning of it means weaving or
Okay.
expansion, uh, and also union. And what that means is essentially it's a teaching about your whole entire human system. And in other traditions and religions, sexuality has always been cut off. And in Tantra, it's embraced and welcomed and celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
But in the West, when Osho was traveling to the West, who is this famous Indian tantric teacher, he people in the West kind of like, because sexuality is so taboo and so intriguing, they completely mixed up the term, and now only we're talking about tantra as um, like a sexuality, only related to sexuality, only related to sex. It's like, but it's not
Yeah.
necessarily. It's like it's your whole entire chakra system, your heart, your third eye, like all everything is connected. Um, so and it's all about energy, and it's all about how you can take that sexual energy and transmute into higher consciousness, into the spirituality. So
Okay.
it's spiritual sexual sort of practice. And also when I talk about union, it's a union between the masculine and the feminine. Masculine, feminine, man and a woman, like, and also the masculine and feminine that lives within us, because we all have it, energies, not gender specific. It's about energies.
Mm-hmm.
So this is in short.
Okay, no, I love that. Thank you so much. And I mean, to that point, the reason I love having these conversations, because like especially around sex and like sexuality, like I feel I've this is probably the second or third conversation I've had around this, and I think like part of what I've really been interested in doing is normalizing conversations around sex, because like I feel like the mentality, or like the sort of conventional mentalities, the more you talk about it, like it's because you're like hypersexualized or something, but it's like that's not necessarily it. Like sex is something that we all experience. It's something that like we're all involved in sex and sexuality. And so I love having these kinds of conversations to help normalize that. So things like tantra, and we can explore things like, kink and whatever, where it's like, we're talking about it as just an aspect of humanity versus this weird thing, like this weird awkward thing that we don't, I like the elephant in the room that we don't like to address.
Exactly. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. But okay. So moving on from where we were about all of that, do you feel there are added benefits to like for your clients especially? Are there added benefits to having a woman as a coach instead of a man, especially in this space of sexuality, emotional healing, tantra, like whatever?
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of men gravitate towards working with the women in that realm. First of all, because I'm a woman and I know, the makeup of a woman's body and what women like and all the secrets, and they kind of look up to me to share those with them. Um, Another thing is there is emotional connection that men also find in the space, and it's sort of like a motherly energy when there is compassion, when there is no judgment, and they can relax and they can express themselves freely with no judgment whatsoever. They feel heard, understood, seen, and it's already, the healing is already started. It's already happening. Just for them to be in my space. When some of my clients shared with me when they went and had the same sexual coaching therapy with men, it wasn't the same. There was like, it's hard to converse this to a man. It's hard to talk about these topics with a man. Um, and some men are okay with that and some men are not.
Hmm.
So yeah, I guess it depends on the preferences also, and how, you know, how I tend to also attract men clients who are more in their hearts, so to speak. Like
Okay.
more,
Well,
um, maybe more feminine in some ways. I don't want to put
okay.
like any labels, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like nice guys,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, ones who are kind of more in tune and already in that space where they're okay with being vulnerable and okay with sharing these things. I can totally get that. But okay, to that point, like at what point do clients seek you out or seek out help from someone like you?
At what point? Um, so men, they, because they're so used to, there's just in the male brain, so used to solve problems themselves,
Hmm.
and especially when it comes to an issue that they experience in the realm of sexuality, they will try everything on their own to solve it, and only then, if there's like nothing, they cannot do anything at all about it, they come for help. um, so I work with men on things like erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation, or shame around sexuality at all, or inability for them to express themselves with their full power, because of some maybe sexual trauma of some sort that they experienced in the child in the when they were young. Also, men come to me and they want to know all the tips and techniques and tools and all the things, how to satisfy a woman, how to pleasure women, how to last longer, um, because for them, the it relates to their manhood, to their confidence, and
Hmm.
if they don't not perform in a sense where it's like performance based, but when they cannot have it together, they feel like the light is dimming, they feel inadequate. uh, Everything else's life is just kind of like, you know falling apart. So men's sexuality is just, it's a very vulnerable part of their lives, and it's it's the source of their confidence,
Hmm.
and confidence in all other areas of your life, because it's transferred to their
Yeah.
career, to their relationship, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, well, there's that idea of like virility and yeah, like I mean culturally like that's hugely significant. So I can totally get that. Um like, so even I know we're talking a lot about sexuality and performance and things like that, but are there when you do coach your clients, is like, does your coaching also affect other areas of their lives, or is it just like with how they perform in bed?
They come to me with that specifically, with whatever issue they're experiencing, and then we start working on what, the opposite of it, what they would like to have happened. And it through our work, it turns out that they need to look at the emotions, they need to look at their health and what they're eating. They need to look at their sleeping habits. They like it's predominantly like their health overall,
Okay.
and relationship with their partner, because I like to work with men who are in a relationship, because a lot of sexual hangups and challenges are stemming for men because there's something off in the relationship.
Hmm.
So all of that, career, the work, the relationship with money. um, it's just like the minute that they start embracing more and more and more of this sexual power, they start to feel more powerful and confident in other areas of their life.
That's
Just
great.
energetically, this is how it feels. Like they walk around like, more lit up, more more energized, and that's just seen everywhere.
Yeah, well, I think it's very similar to women as well. Women do the same thing where they like when, that sort of conscious sexuality, or that really really kind of understanding what you want, or like what your body needs in order to feel satisfied, really like starts to bleed through into other, like, your confidence is better, you shine brighter, you're more assertive where you need to be, you feel or like you think more in abundance versus in scarcity, because that's also a conversation I've had, but it all kind of does draw together, like, your physical balance, and then just balance in other areas of your life. So I think that's so important to understand that, like, as much as we talk about women doing this, like, it's also the same for men. They also experience these things.
Yes, 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 absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah. So, with all of that said, what does coaching with you look like?
Um, so first, when people find me, I have a this 45-minute sort of introductory session that they book with me, just for us to see each other, to establish whether we're a good fit, whether he is comfortable with me, and so on and so forth. And then if we do established this that we're good fit for each other to work together, then I offer different programs, and I have a 3 months container to work with me, a 6 months, and a year, and also an online course, which is a sort of half self-paced, half guided by me, which I am launching again, second time in August or September. Haven't decided yet. Yeah,
Nice.
so it's one-on-one. Men actually prefer to work one-on-one more than in the group setting, because
Mhm.
it's it's privacy, it's confidentiality, it's something very delicate for them to discuss. So one-on-one is the best.
Yeah. Well, it's easier to be vulnerable with one person you trust versus with a group of
Yeah.
people that you may or may not trust.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and each person gets like a customized approach from me on what is it that they're dealing with. Yeah.
Okay. So is it like journaling, and like, is it just
There are a
talking?
lot of there was well, it depends. There are a lot of conversations, and there's a lot of talking, what's going on, how he feels, what's going on in relationships, how that he has sex with his partner, all of it very descriptive, very explicit. We talk about all of that, and then there's a lot of communication practices that I offer in the session, and that he can then go and do this with his partner. There's a lot of meditations that I give in the sessions and as a homework, self pleasure practices, which I feel like very, very important, because none of us is taught how to touch ourselves in a conscious, intentional way.
Right,
You
right.
know, we're taught how to masturbate through porn, which is very disconnected from the
Yeah.
body. And so I teach them how to connect to their body through conscious self pleasure practices, which we don't do it in the session, but I record um, audio guided recordings, and they listen and they do that. And it's about 30 minutes each of them. Um, and they rewire their relationship towards masturbation, towards how they relate to their penis. Yeah, they feel more, all the things. In the beginning is frustration and numbness because nothing is happening, and then they start to experience more and more subtle sensations, which is very important
Mm-hmm.
for lasting longer, for experiencing full bodied orgasms if a man wants that, and the majority do. Yeah, so that, and books, I give like lots of sex positive books to read, and they have also connection with me in between sessions, so there's like a whole support throughout 3 months or 6 months or a year.
That's great. That's great. I love that. And I mean, like it's like you said, I think especially talking about things like self-pleasure, like masturbation, you're right. There is a disconnect there where it's like I feel like even, even as a woman myself, like, who like I feel like I'm more in tune with my sexuality, but there's also, there are spaces there where I'm kind of like, am I just getting off or am I really feeling it? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yep, yep, totally. Yes, and I was there as a
Yeah.
woman, numb, and I was like, using that vibrator all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Then I let go of that and just like listened more to my body, just without even being aroused. I was just, directing my attention to my pelvis, to my womb, to my genitals, and just listening and just, detecting the subtleties.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, those subtleties became louder, louder,
Mm-hmm.
louder, and louder. You can actually, I have become really sensitive, which I had no idea I was capable of.
Yeah.
And it's a matter
Yeah.
of practice.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so how do people find you? Like, just to wrap this up, how do people find you, your programs? I know you mentioned you're launching one soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do we find you?
So I'm on social media, on Instagram, my name, Iryna.Sulim,
Okay.
uh, and Facebook, same. And also my website, www.irynasulim.com. That's how people can find me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And is it do they just schedule like that 45-minute consult with you, or is there like an application process? How does that work?
There is a sort of a small application when people schedule a call with me on Calendly, just like 10 questions that they would need to answer. So I know,
Okay.
so I'm prepared already to who I'm interacting with.
Yeah. Okay. And just to clarify, because you had kind of mentioned this, you don't just work with men, you do also, you're expanding to women, to couples, to other people as well.
Yes, 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 yes. Right now, I'm feeling the calling to expand to women and to couples,
Mhm.
um, and yeah, it's sort of the same process. They can find me through social media. I have not yet built all the official website that I'm working with women, but it's happening slowly. But I
Okay. And would that coaching be similar to what you're doing with men, or I mean, like, I guess it'd be like the same tailored kind of process you do with men.
Yeah, like the methods are similar, because I when I did my training, I tried everything on myself, and I explored myself, my body up and down, um, and so I have a more direct transmission to women through my
Okay.
body to them. With men, I had to work with men for a while, and also get a training for men's sexuality in order to understand how that their body works and all the things.
Mhm.
Essentially, from the human perspective, we're similar when how we
Mhm.
feel things and experience things sensation wise, and that's most important
Right.
as work.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, that's great. This was amazing. Thank you so much for coming and having this conversation with me. Again, I love I love having these conversations because I really feel it's important to normalize these kinds of conversations. Again, like not because like I want this world to be hypersexual or anything, but just because like these things are very normal. Like we all experience it. We all like sex is something that should be very normal. We should treat it that way. So I love having these conversations and thank you.
It's my pleasure. I love having those conversations too. So I'm very, very happy to be here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, I can't wait to talk with you again soon.
Likewise. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you so much, Iryna, for coming by and chatting. Again, like I love having these conversations, and I'm so grateful for you for coming and opening your hearts and opening the spaces in your mind and your thinking for these conversations as well. So, cheers to you. I will have all of her information in the captions and on socials, so definitely keep an eye out for that. And yeah, I can't wait to sit with you again next week.